On a sharp autumn morning in 2019, Samantha Davenport's body was found dead in her basement. She had been killed in a very violent and strange way. Josh Davenport, her 48-year-old husband, an insurance adjuster with an unremarkable life, was at the center of this horrifying tale. To his neighbors, Josh was a quiet, awkward man who kept to himself. No one could have imagined the sinister forces that would drive him to kill. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community, unraveling a chilling story of madness and bloodshed. Hello, and welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please subscribe and press the bell notification. Josh Davenport's path to becoming a murderer started long before he ever went online. Born in 1971 to working-class parents, Josh was a shy and quiet child who had trouble making friends. His father, a strict factory worker, rarely showed love and often criticized Josh for not being good at sports or socializing. His mother, although caring, was dealing with her own depression and couldn't give Josh the emotional support he needed. In school, Josh found solace in books and computers. He did well academically but had trouble with social interactions. After high school, he attended community college to stay close to home. There, he met Samantha, a kind nursing student who liked him for his intelligence and sensitivity. Their relationship grew, and Josh felt he had finally found the love and acceptance he had always wanted. After graduation, Josh worked as an insurance adjuster, and Samantha became a nurse. They married in 1996 and moved to a small house near Josh's old neighborhood. Initially, everything seemed perfect, but soon problems began. Josh was insecure and feared being left alone, which made him jealous and controlling. He often accused Samantha of cheating without any evidence. Frustrated by Josh's lack of trust and emotional maturity, Samantha and Josh argued more often, which created a growing distance between them. As he approached middle age, Josh felt deeply disappointed and like a failure. His career had stalled, and younger colleagues got promoted over him. The dream of starting a family faded due to fertility issues and the strain on their marriage. By his mid-40s, Josh felt like a shell of his former self. He went through the motions at work and came home to a house filled with tension and unspoken resentment. Samantha had become distant, focusing on her career and volunteer work, leaving Josh alone with his loneliness and inadequacy. Desperate for escape, Josh turned to the internet. What began as harmless browsing of forums and chat rooms led him to darker corners of the web, searching for something to fill the void in his life. He stumbled upon the dark web, a hidden part of the internet accessible only through special software. At first, Josh was curious, not mean. He was amazed by the huge amount of information and services, both legal and illegal. During a particularly tough time in his marriage, Samantha received a promotion, highlighting Josh's own career pause. Their arguments grew more bitter, and Samantha often slept in the spare bedroom. The dark web became Josh's refuge, a place to escape his real-life failures. One night, he found a sinister forum with a black background and crimson text. It discussed ancient rituals, dark powers, and the promise of transformation. This blend of occult knowledge and personal empowerment captivated Josh. He created an account and introduced himself as a seeker of hidden truths. Welcoming messages flooded in. Josh, enjoying the sudden attention, didn't notice the dangerous interest in him. He had stepped into a world that would eventually destroy him, starting a series of events leading to terrible darkness. The forum was more than a dark web cult. It was designed to exploit people like Josh. New members, called Seekers, shared their struggles and sought guidance. Guides offered support and slowly introduced the cult's beliefs. Dedicated Seekers became initiates, accessing secret sub-forums. Here, they learned about blood rituals and sacrificial magic. At the top was the Crimson Prophet, seen as a link to dark forces. The Prophet's posts were rare but powerful, causing debates. Key members had roles. Midnight Whisper exploited emotions. Dark Sage was the lore expert, and Shadow Walker enforced rules. The cult taught that the world was corrupt, and true power came from embracing darkness. Rituals played a central role, starting with harmless acts and escalating to self-harm and violence. Financial exploitation was common, with higher ranks requiring larger offerings. Josh's descent into the cult was rapid. Desperate for acceptance, he completed each task eagerly, from meditation exercises to disturbing activities like bloodletting. He documented these acts and shared them with his online mentors, who praised his dedication. Josh's appearance decayed, and he became more withdrawn at work, receiving a formal warning from his supervisor. At home, the distance between him and Samantha grew unbridgeable. She tried to help, but Josh accused her of holding him back from his potential. As Josh advanced in the cult, he accessed more exclusive areas of the forum, encountering discussions of animal sacrifice and sexual magic. The turning point came when Josh was granted a one-on-one digital audience with the Crimson Prophet. He prepared his space, donned robes, and engaged in a preparatory ritual. The Prophet's message was clear. Josh had been chosen and had to make the ultimate sacrifice. Eager for power, Josh agreed. The Prophet manipulated Josh, reinforcing his sense of specialness and destiny. They recast Josh's life struggles as tests of worthiness, positioning him as a messiah figure within the cult. The Prophet then probed Josh's psyche, asking about his relationships, especially with Samantha. Josh poured out his frustrations and resentments, feeling emasculated by Samantha's success and fearing she would leave him. This digital encounter set in motion a series of tragic events. The cult exploited Josh's vulnerabilities, leading him down a dark path. The story of Josh Davenport is a chilling reminder of how easily someone can be manipulated and driven to unimaginable darkness. The Prophet offered Josh twisted advice. "Your wife is an anchor holding you back," he said. "She stops you from reaching your true potential. To embrace your destiny, she must die." The idea of violence was introduced slowly, hidden in the language of ritual and sacrifice. The Prophet talked about ancient rites that required the most dear offering. For Josh, this meant Samantha's life. The Prophet gave Josh detailed instructions for a ritual to unlock his powers, ending in Samantha's death. "Perform this rite, and you will be reborn as a living God," the Prophet promised. "Fail, and you will be unworthy forever." After the session, Josh sat in silence, overwhelmed by what he was considering. He knew it was madness, but his insecurities and the promise of power drowned out his doubts. The week before the ritual was a blur for Josh. During the day, he acted normal, but at night he gathered the ritual items: black candles, a silver chalice, a ceremonial dagger with a bone handle, and various herbs and powders. As the date approached, Josh's mental state worsened. He hardly slept, memorizing the incantations and visualizing the act he was about to commit. Samantha noticed the tension and tried to help, suggesting counseling and planning a weekend getaway. Josh ignored her, focused on his grim task. On October 15th, 2019, Samantha came home from work, tired but looking forward to a quiet night with Josh. The house was dark except for a faint light from the basement. She called out to Josh but got no response. Worried, she went downstairs and walked into a nightmare. The basement was set up for a ritual. Black candles formed a circle, and strange symbols were painted on the floor and walls. In the center stood Josh, wearing a black robe, looking wild and unfocused. "Samantha, you weren't supposed to be home yet," he whispered. "It's not time." Samantha was shocked. "Josh, what is this? What's going on?" she asked. Josh smiled cruelly. "You're early, but maybe this is meant to be," he said. He grabbed her and dragged her into the circle. Samantha tried to fight, but Josh was too strong. He tied her up and started reciting the incantations. For a moment, he hesitated, but then he raised the dagger. "With this offering, I claim my power," he said, and stabbed her repeatedly. After the ritual, Josh waited for the promised power, but nothing happened. Reality hit him hard. He realized what he had done and collapsed next to Samantha's body, crying and apologizing. The next day, their neighbor, Mrs. Winters, called the police when she couldn't reach them. Officer Ramirez found Samantha's body and a blood-covered Josh, catatonic and holding her hand. The investigators discovered Josh's involvement with a cult through his laptop. The cult had manipulated him into committing the murder. Other similar cases were found across the country. Josh was placed under psychiatric care, unresponsive and rambling about dark lords and promised power. The breakthrough came 3 months later when encrypted messages on Josh's laptop were decoded, revealing the cult's operations. The cult leader, the Crimson Prophet, was found to be a former psychology professor. Investigators arrested key cult members in simultaneous raids. Josh eventually spoke to Dr. Rodriguez, recounting the events and expressing remorse. His confession helped build a case against the cult leaders. Josh was deemed mentally unfit to stand trial and was committed to a high-security psychiatric facility. The community held a candlelight vigil for Samantha, and lawmakers pushed for new legislation to combat online radicalization. The Davenport house was demolished, and a memorial garden for Samantha and other cult victims was built in its place. Until next time, stay safe and stay tuned. Thanks for watching.